just yeah, we'll just have to do it the good old fashioned way, which was the upload.
Oh, it's moving this time. Hold on. It says it failed, but last time it says it failed, you were live. I think,
I think it does. The content of this meeting is being sent to Facebook.
yep, it says right on there. It says on Facebook. The last time it
There
failed.
we go. All right. All right, guys. There we
Had
are.
a little bit of technical difficulty. That was all my fault. I sorry, Facebook. I sorry.
So I think it was because I put the new microphone up, Rob. I got the I got your my Christmas
Well, you
present.
sound a hell
Just
of a lot better. That's for sure.
if you say so, if you say so, we probably do. We probably do. There we go. Anyway, so tonight we want to welcome with us a good friend of ours, Jason Summers. He is from RGB2GO. He's up in New York. He sent me a box today, and well, he didn't send it today. He sent it earlier in the week, but it spurred a conversation with us earlier in the past week. I was working on, as many of you know, a lot of things. I'm working on revamping things in my show, and one of the things I wanted to fix offline and get taken care of was my floodlight controller that that I was running in the preseason and postseason last year. Uh, I wanted to have floodlights on the house and be able to change them for different, Halloween or whatever, because I generally don't have time for Halloween shows. Um, but this controller here, I'll hold it up. This is the Duo to Go. This is Jason's controller, and I sent him a message saying, "Hey, this thing is not remembering its IP address or something to that effect. It's constantly putting out the wrong colors. Things aren't working right." And he says, "Oh, well, take a picture of it and send." And I said, "Well, can you send me this piece? And or can I just order one of these?" He says, "No, no, I've got a bunch of these here. I'm going to send you one, and let's see if we can get it working." Well, while I was looking at this and working on this, Jason snuck another thing into my mailbox, which is here. I'm going to open this up because hopefully it's the same thing that we're going to talk about tonight. I assume it is. But Jason has something new and exciting to talk about. That for the past 2 years, Jason's really worked hard creating some of the easiest setup controllers to make it simple for new people to get started in the hobby. And I don't know about you guys, but that's one thing that both Robert and I have tried to do for the past 8 years, 9 years in this hobby that I've been working in it, is trying to make it easy for everybody. And sometimes it's not easy, is it? Is it, Jake?
No, we have our moments, but
And but inside this box is your new Pixel controller. Is that right?
correct. It is our new 8-port. I call it the Octa to Go WLAD Pixel controller.
All right. And I'm trying to open it up here just so that everybody can see. You've already got one there. You probably could just go from here. But I wanted everybody to see. Everybody likes to see an unboxing, right?
Oh, go for it.
So, but what I like about these controllers is he's right. These are easy to set up, and I am going to put this controller to use this year. I have a physical use for this controller for my show this year. So this
Just keep it dry, man.
this is going to be, and for very good reason. This is going to be running my reindeer, and this is pretty slick. So this is, oh, I got it upside down. Wah, wah, wah. There we go. There we go. Go ahead there. This is this is not we started with the Duo to Go, then we went to the Tetra to Go, and now
Yep.
we're on the Octa to Go. Is that
Here
right?
you go. I'll show you my line. See those?
All right. All right.
I don't know if you can see those. You got the Duo to Go in the bottom right there. You've got the Tetra to Go a little bit above that to the left, and the Octa below it, just to give you a sense of size and whatnot. But yeah, we've come a long way in just a few years, right?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And I was very happy to begin messing around with it. after I got past the how do I get connected to this thing, I think that was the hardest part for me.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna, Jason, what I want you to do is I want you to just see if you can step by step go over all of the features on it, what you've done to it, what's different about this one than the other ones, and then see if we can get it hooked up and running with xLights.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, essentially, you all know I started with a two-port controller. That was a very, very basic Wi-Fi only pixel controller. Let me see if I can switch my camera here. So yeah, this was the Duo to Go. Um, it was originally based on an ESP8266, but in this past revision, I've upgraded everything to ESP32s. So that's new this year. One of the
When you
biggest.
say what does that exactly mean? The ESP, what was it?
Okay, okay, you see this microcomputer here?
Okay.
That's the brains of the module, right? Essentially, it's the processor that powers the controller.
Okay.
And ESP8266 is a very inexpensive computer. It has single core, 80 megahertz, I believe. The ESP32 is a step up. It's a dual core, 240 megahertz. So I mean it's just like a computer. It's how fast it can process the commands you're sending to it. And the nice thing about my controllers, I don't build the processor. They're nice, removable modules. So the goal being, you want these things to be nice and repairable in the case, like in your event, if you had water inside your controller, you can just pop that off, pop a new one on, and you're good to go again. So one of the big one of the critiques I received of these was because it's limited to Wi-Fi only, and you're limited to the number of ports. So I answered that with the Tetra to Go controller, which has 4 ports and has an expansion module on it. This was the big thing that you don't see on many other controllers, and it's just a breakout pin of GPIOs that gives you a lot more scalability and upgradability. So
So
rather than being limited to Wi-Fi only, the expansion module gives you the ability to add, say, a wired Ethernet header, which you can just, pop in there, plug in an Ethernet cable, and you're wired. All right. Um, I've got lots of other things I've added. I've got an audio reactive module if you want to have a microphone on there to make your light sound reactive. You can add an OLED display if you want a display showing the content data. What else have I worked on here? I've got an SD card module if you want to save sequences to the SD card and run ES Pixel Stick firmware. And so working on modularity and upgradability, I didn't want to have to stock 15 different controllers, right? I work out of my house. I'm not in a big warehouse like Miner and Mr. Hohensee, but so I wanted to have a nice vanilla board with lots of upgrade options. And the Tetra was really well received. The upgrade module, the expansion module was very well received as well. The next step was let's add some more ports, and that was the answer for the Octa. So as you can see here, the Octa to Go is an 8-port controller. It has 8 5-amp outputs. It has reverse polarity protection, so if you plug the power in backwards, it will not damage your controller. And it also has a expansion module, so you can add wired Ethernet, the buttons, SD card, IR receiver, things like that as well. So again, just we're growing slowly and steadily, trying to make more powerful controllers as we go, and still try to keep the spirit of making them simple to use. Because again, my target market are beginners, people who are not necessarily well versed in electronics and in this hobby in general. It's a great starting point for people to jump in, get some lights blinking quickly, really start to develop that passion for the hobby, and then who knows where they can take it from there.
I what I like is I like the ability to be able to have the pop out. So
Mhm.
being able to change out this adapter or this I mean it's like a daughter board, an additional daughter board, and being able to have this so that I can um, because hands up for all of you out there, like there, I know this has happened to me for many years. I go into my old job. I would go into my old job and I would say, people would say, "Oh, I was at your house last night. Your house looked amazing. I'd love to put that star that you have, or that PPD wreath, or this whatever, onto my house." And for many of us as hobbyists, we're like, "Oh no, you've got to program the thing." And now granted, I mean, this is a couple of years ago, there was no controller that you could just pop an SD card into this and just let it go do its thing. And so that was one of the things well, you and I had discussed that, it was a
Mhm.
couple of years ago. And this is what I feel is like the biggest uh wonderful addition to your controller, is that somebody can buy a PPD wreath, and they can go hang it up and plug it in and put an SD card in here. And it doesn't have to be a synchronized Christmas light show. It can be a standalone. Does it look pretty? It's static, it changes colors, it
Yeah.
twinkles, it sparkles, it does all those things. But it doesn't have to go along with music. It can just be a pretty decoration, which is what most people, I would say probably 90% of the people, if they wanted to put Christmas lights on their house and they wanted to do crazy stuff, but not get into the level that we get into, I think this to me, that to me is what sets this board apart. Now, one of the other things that you mentioned, and you mentioned it really quick, was that there's two ways this board is served up with two different firmwares. One is if it has this SD card, it's one way. Can you talk about that for just a second?
Sure. The board was designed for uh, use with WLED. If anybody's familiar with WLED, it is a fairly standard. Let me see if I can get to my mix here. Let me transition it over. So here you can see WLED. It's essentially it's a very nice web interface. You can change, so you can see the lights are on in the left. You essentially click and change the colors, right? Actually, let me get to solid first. So if you wanted to do really simple, like house lines, it's as simple as log into this, change the color.
And you're doing this using your cell phone. You
Right, I
can
have that it projected into a browser window right now. But yeah, so with WLED comes default with a ton of effects. I mean, I'm scrolling through them here, but there's a lot. There's
and it's just literally click, choose one, and it does all these just
right.
and there's no programming to it, right?
Yeah, this is it. What you're seeing is that's it. You put your lights up, you can change the color as easy as clicking the button.
Now I played around with WLED with my first one, which is this one
The
here,
duo.
and
Yep.
the Duo to go, because this one here, this is not that not there's not much to see here other than it's a two output controller, and I was using it for floodlights, and and that's where the discussion of I wanted to be able to program it and just plug it in and let it do its thing and walk away from it.
Right.
And then you said, well, you do know that you can do some basic scheduling with it where it'll come on and you can pre-program some things and it'll save your pre-programmed things in WLED. And
Correct.
and that was nice to start with, but then what if I wanted to do something on my own with xLights using something there's no way for me to just put a card
Right.
in it. So that's
Gotcha.
this is one of the great things, is that you have so many options. If you're doing something that's just super easy, super basic,
Right.
you don't have to learn how to install FPP or and go through the FPP is great for the fact that it can do so many things, and I'm not knocking it in any way, but you literally just plugged that in, turned it on, and if there were pixels on the output and it knew that, all you had to do was just click on the color and you were already outputting the color because it
Right.
starts that way for you.
Right. And
So,
that's what people are just so excited to get the lights going. You
mhm,
know, imagine how frustrating it is to have to learn how to use a Falcon controller before you get the lights to blink.
mhm.
For a beginner, they want to plug it in, they want to turn it on, and they want to show their kids how the colors change. And that's where you want to start, and that's what hooks you. right? So yeah, we're talking 15 minutes from opening the box to getting lights on. It's that easy.
So,
That being said, we can make it more complicated. Like this
so,
board is very scalable.
well, that so then let's go ahead and make it more complicated because we have the SD card. What firmware is running whenever you're
Okay.
using the SD card?
So WLED by itself does not support SD cards. Now, there are other firmwares out there, and firmwares are essentially the software that's running on the controller, right? WLED is very simple. It's what I use by default, but you're not limited to it. It's like a computer. You can install Windows on it, but you could also install Linux, right? If you're comfortable with that sort of operating system. Um, so instead of installing WLED, you could also install a software called ES Pixel Stick firmware, which is a great project started by Fork and I. He's got his own line of controllers, and thankfully he's made his software open source and publicly available. So we can anybody could download the software, install it on their ESP32, and configure it to run pixels. I've been working with Martin Mueller, who's been developing the ESP32 version of that software, and we've been using it for the Tetra to go and now the Octa to go to allow us to support SD cards. And what that allows you to do is create a sequence in xLights, and save that sequence to the SD card so that when you power on the controller, you can have it running a default sequence. So literally just turn the power on and it runs.
So it's the same idea. The difference is the firmware that it runs off of and how you get to or configure it from outside of it using either xLights or dialing into a graphic user interface, or
Right.
you're using WLED or whatsoever. So why don't you why don't you kind of walk them through the process of, and you can't see I'm holding it up, but maybe you can. Uh, why don't you walk them through the process of setting it up using? Do you have both of them? With the uh, with the my gosh, I can't spit it out. Ethernet jack, and one with the network, or with the SD card. I couldn't spit
Let's
that.
see, what do I have here? Currently, I've got I have my new 4 button with the Octa right now.
Okay.
I can throw an SD card on the Tetra if you wanted to sort of do that live.
So, I let's focus on the focus on the Okta, and you have it set up with the buttons. How are you? I guess one of the things we need to do is how do we get this into xLights? Let's start with that.
Okay. We're getting really granular here. Let's see. So are we going to do this as far as a build? Are you going to be assembling that? We get into it, or do you want me to show you?
I'm not gonna get into a build with this. I am planning to do a build, and I probably will do a video down the road. But because this is going to be for running for my reindeer. But in your instance, what I'd like you to do is just explain what you have, explain how you're going to set it up so that they can
Okay.
see kind of the okay, here's my card, and this is what we're going to do to set it up. Now
Gotcha.
obviously you have it hooked up to power, and you obviously also have it hooked up to
Right.
you have some pixels connected to it.
Yep.
Presumably they're plugged in the right way.
Correct. Okay, so the very basics of this board, there are 2 separate power inputs. There's the one here on the left and the one on the right. The 12-volt input on the left, again, that can, well, I said it's 12 volt because that's what I plugged in. It can support 5, 12, or 24 volts. And there's a jumper setting where you can select either 5 or 12 volts plus. This powers the first 4 outputs, the ESP32 and the expansion header. The second power connectors here power ports 5 through 8. And those can be a different voltage. It all depends on your pixels. And you want to make sure your power supply matches your pixels.
Okay, so another point to mention now that you said that is, if you, and you can't see this, if I could hold up mine, I don't think you guys, I don't have my camera set up for you guys, but these inputs on here have from 5 volt, 12 volt, and also go up to 24 volt. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's rather exciting.
That is new for the Octo is the brand new where we actually upgraded all the parts to withstand up to 24 volts. So yeah.
So that makes sense that you can output more, output a 24 volt pixel onto the board, and that's one of the reasons. Is that one of the reasons why you put two power lug connectors on there?
Well, actually, that was to support the amperage required for that many outputs.
Gotcha.
Each output we have a 5 amp fuse attached to. So I mean, 8 ports times 5 amps. So we needed to make the board sturdy enough to withstand 40 amps of current. So hence the large size to help dissipate heat. There's large traces in there so that it doesn't get too hot and that it safely can conduct that current. I found it was safer. Those connectors, these connectors really are really not rated for a full 40 amp. They're only rated for 20 to 30. So that's why we added 2 on the controller to split that amperage up.
So then, if I'm running, let's say, if I'm going to run 5 volt on one side, because some people do this.
Mhm.
If I'm going to run 5 volt on one side and 24 volt on the other, it's probably a better idea that I would put the 5 volt on the left hand side, and
Yeah, I
then,
mean, again, you could do it either way, but yes,
but there's a selector, right?
right. There's a jumper here. I don't have a really good picture. Let me see if I can hold it up to the camera a little better. I've got another one here. You can kind of see there is a jumper setting here. Kind of hard to read, but if it's crossing the left 2 pins, that's the 5 volt setting, and if it's crossing the right 2 pins, that's for 12 volts and above.
And then just to mention, there's no jumper for the other side. It will naturally work with
Correct.
anything. It doesn't matter what it is you
Right.
hook up.
What's
Okay.
happening over here is that 12 volts or 24 volts or whatever you put in this side needs to be stepped down in order to power the ESP32 and the expansion module. So the jumper just tells the controller how much do I need to step this down. Right now, since the right power input is not controlling anything else other than the 4 inputs and the lights, the 4 outputs and the lights, there's no need to step that down at all. So there's no need for a jumper. You can connect 5 volts up to this if your pixels on 5 through 8 are 5 volts, 12 volts here if your pixels are 5 through 8 are 12 volts, and 24 volts if they're 24 volts. They don't affect anything else on the board. But as far as what you were saying, yeah, I'd say if you're going to put 5 volts in, I'd probably put it on the left-hand side, set this to 5 volts. That way you're not worrying about stepping down voltage.
Yeah, it's always safer with lower voltage on the main thing that runs the internals of the
Right. I
controller.
mean, when your step down voltage, our side effect is heat.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you start, I mean, if you only need 5, and you can supply 5, you don't have to worry about that excess heat.
So, full disclosure, my controller, like I said, is going to run some reindeer. These reindeer are 5 volt. This makes sense for me to do this, and these reindeer, I don't have to I don't have to cross wire the old wires over like I planned on, because this board could be just dedicated to them. So I'm happy to have a board that does support 5 volt. And it also, by all rights, it's got the Ethernet jack as well. Where yours isn't showing that, it's showing the push buttons. But the Ethernet jack, that to me makes a huge difference. So in any event, go ahead with the setup there.
No problem. I'm loading software up as we go here.
Oh, good deal.
Okay, so we have. Okay, so WLAD loads up automatically, right? One thing you're going to want to do is connect it to your local Wi-Fi network, which I've already done. But it's just as easy as going to the config tab, Wi-Fi setup, and joining it to your local wireless network.
Are
Oh,
you
sorry, I
are
don't
you
have
on
that on the
that?
screen. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
bring that on the
Pop that
screen.
up there. Sorry, I got too many
There
windows.
we go.
I'm not paying attention.
Nope, that's good.
So let me go back to where I was. The config menu up here on the top takes you to this Wi-Fi setup. Enter in your wireless access point name and your password. Once it's joined to your network, you'll receive an IP address on your network. In our case, it's my show network is 10.1.1.165. Okay, let me see if I can share the screen easily. One second. sorry. I'm just going to switch my screen over so we can see xLights going. Okay. So, sorry, I've got too many windows open here. Got my logo up top there. Okay. So here is xLights. Let's see. You want to do some basic connection into xLights? Is that what we're doing?
Yep, basic connection. How do we get the controller into xLights so it's easy to see it?
Gotcha. First of all, I'm going to change my show network here to my test network.
So basically, you have a test directory that you go out of, and you're temporarily changing your directory.
So I don't mess up my show in the middle of the season. It's
right. No,
always a
absolutely.
good idea.
Okay. We all have plenty of play folders that we can go and test things out in, and I do recommend that to people.
Perfect. WLAD controllers, it's important to note the Discover button does not work. Maybe soon it will. It all depends, but right now you can't really search and discover WLAD controllers. So what you need, you have to add, even though it's Wi-Fi, you want to add Ethernet. Okay. And on the once that's added, you're going to go to the right-hand side under name. Just I'm going to type, make this Octa2Go. Descriptions, just a general description to help you, in case you have multiples, you know which one it is. Like, say front porch. Under vendor, you're going to choose RGB2GO. And under model, you'll find the Duo, the Tetra, and the Octa. We're going to choose the Octa. Okay, we're going to enter in the IP address that we have. Is it 10.1.1.165? Oops. We're going to change the protocol to DDP. DDP is a much more efficient Wi-Fi protocol. So since these are Wi-Fi controllers, we want to use the protocol that's much friendlier to that. And we're going to press the save button in the upper left-hand corner. And I've got some props that are already set up, which is why it's okay. Let me get rid of some of these.
Can you center that just a little bit so it's all on screen for us? There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry. Let's see.
This is what happens when you have the spare directories or play test directories.
And I wasn't completely prepared to do that. So okay. So right now I've got one. Actually, let me just start over. I'll create one prop here. Just a line of 50 pixels. Right? And 50 is the default.
Yep. Use your imagination. This could be a wreath or a door outline or anything. This could be a custom model.
Okay. And so we save that. We're going to go back to controllers. And now we want to assign that prop to the Octa. The visualize button. You can actually drag that particular prop over to the port that it's plugged into. I currently have mine plugged into port 1.
Drag that screen over, Jason. We're not seeing it.
Yeah, we didn't see it. There we go.
Too many windows. Okay, so visualize pops up, and this you can just drag over to port 1. Okay, once we close this, one of the nice things, xLights really is amazing. I don't know how many different types of controllers out there, but the fact that you can upload configurations to all these different controllers makes life so easy.
What do you mean by upload?
So rather than go into WLED and then set each port output to, I got 50 pixels on port 1, I got 200 pixels on port 2, xLights can handle it for you. Now, because I configured just a 50 node string on output 1, we can just upload that configuration, send that configuration to the Octa. So it'll handle configuring it for you. And this little upload output button we're going to click on, it's handling the upload to the Octa. And we're going to go back to it. Under LED preferences, you can see right now of all my outputs, right now the only one that is configured is port 1 with 50 pixels on it, just like we have in xLights. It's critical that the two match, and it's really, really nice that xLights handles that for you. Am I moving too fast? Or are we doing okay?
I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good.
Okay, so now we know xLights sees the octa. It can send information to the octa. Now we can actually work on basic sequences. And we're not going to do much with a single line, but we can do that here. Let's go over to the sequencer tab.
Oh, you can do a lot with a single line.
I'm just not very creative. This is why I subscribe to PPD, so I don't have to worry about this stuff.
I'll give you a hint. I'll throw you a bone. Just put the butterfly effect on it and it'll look pretty.
No problem. So I'll just do a 20 frames. Just a basic sequence, 30 seconds long. Yeah, timing mark here so I can, so it fills up the whole thing. Come on. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Again, this is why I have Clyde do it. Okay, so butterfly effect. All the way across the string. You can see the preview on the left-hand side of what it's going to look like. And let's see. Do we need to save and render to get this to pop up?
Nope.
No?
Just hit the.
Should just be able to output the lights, right?
That should be it.
Okay, now I'm going to switch my camera over so you can see this now. And you can see it's outputting to my lights. So WLED does listen for broadcast information. If xLights sends it information, whatever WLED is doing, xLights will override. So yeah, it's pretty nifty. You can go back to, we can change this effect to, let's see, what's another one? We can do like a bars effect.
You could do color wash. Or bars work, but the color wash is good because you can see it with
oh
well no, you're fine. Bars is good too because now you've only got two colors. You've got two colors set assigned.
The problem is over 30 seconds. Will it wash a little slow?
Oh, yeah, just increase your count from 1 to like 20. See how it does it.
Okay.
See, so there, over 30 seconds, it'll change like 10 times or whatever you got set there, 5 or whatever. So yeah, just go ahead, flip back to your other screen.
Okay. Yep, no problem. Transition over.
And so you see the red to the white to the red, and then the stark white, bam, poof, to the red.
So
that's fantastic. Fantastic.
So, and how long this take? I mean, I know I whipped through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, as far as the number of clicks you've got to take to get to this point, it's not a lot. And I do detail it specifically on my website, step by step. And I've got some YouTube videos as well that go over this as well.
No, that's what I appreciate about this controller is the simplicity from literally opening the box to, yes, you have to screw the power supplies into it. Yes, you have to connect pixels to the output, but for the most part, everybody can handle doing those basic tasks. But whenever it comes to the actual setup, that's a different story. What can you tell me about the buttons?
Oh, the buttons?
Yeah, let's talk about the buttons. You've got it hooked up to xLights. That's wonderful. We know we can output the lights. We know that if we add it into our show and we add that controller in and we follow the steps that you already outlined, we know that that's good. But how do these buttons work? What's the deal with the buttons?
Okay, the buttons are essentially shortcuts, right? A lot of people use them in their show for letting the public interface directly with their lights. With WLED, because you have so many different effects, you may have some that are your favorites, right? You would set them up to be your go-to effects, like one for St. Patrick's Day, one for Valentine's Day, one for 4th of July. And what the button module does is it allows it's as simple as just hitting a button to change an effect. So I have one program to change the lights to red. I have button 2 set up to change them to blue. If I want a rainbow effect, I program to button 3. Or, St. Patrick's Day, green and yellow on button 4. So rather than have to open up your cell phone and get to a website and change the props, you can just, hit a button. Now, I'm also making in the future, working on an extender that can extend these to the larger buttons that people like to put on podiums.
Oh,
So you can
okay.
actually have some real public interaction.
So a kind of a port forward thing, where
Yeah.
you can extend it out and
Yep.
you can plug the buttons in.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Outstanding.
And they're very easy to set up. Let me, if I get back to the screen, I can show you. All you want to do is under LED preferences, you scroll down and you have to configure GPIOs, which are written on my board. They come with the instructions. So these 4 GPIOs, they have to be registered as push buttons. And then you set what are called presets. In my case, I've set up 4 presets. I've set up red on button 1, blue on button 2. I set up the rainbow effect on button 3, and I named button 4 St. Pat's.
So I want to say this is similar to how I set up this reminds me of how I remember. So now this is 2 years, year and a half ago, how I set up some presets, as you said. And once I had set those presets up, I saved them in the schedule so that they would play automatically. You're using them to actually enact them on each individual button.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously can be fun. You can do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
As far as for the purposes of demonstration, yeah, assigning a simple effect to a simple button push is easy and straightforward. You could set entire playlists to a single button. You can have like a Sunday playlist. You push the button and it plays the sequences of events, the effects that you wanted to for Sundays, or Mondays or whatever.
Gotcha. Now, the next question I have is, this has all been WLED.
Yes.
Do you have a setup one of these ready where you could use the Ethernet jack and use the Pixel Stick firmware?
I do not. I can set up real quick an SD card on ES Pixel Stick if you wanted to do that.
The SD card would work the same way, but it's
right. It's just a different module, right? I haven't done much testing with the Ethernet yet on the Octa. In WLED it works beautifully. I have not gone so far as to finish the testing in ES Pixel Stick yet for the Ethernet ports.
Okay.
So right now the only real reason I recommend ES Pixel Stick is for use with an SD card adapter right now.
Okay. So, but even with the Ethernet module, the Ethernet module works off of WLED, right?
Correct.
Okay. So basically the difference would be I could connect to it using Ethernet as opposed to forcing myself to use Wi-Fi. And that's only a difference in the WLED setup page.
Correct. There is a different Ethernet firmware you'd want to install because WLED does not have Ethernet built into it. There is a special Ethernet version we can download and install. And once that's done, it's as simple as, turning it on and plugging it in.
So somebody like me now, and you knew ahead of time because we kind of discussed what I plan to use it for. This ahead of time. So your final use case, it may not be as simple as just swapping out the Ethernet versus the push buttons versus the SD card.
Right. Most of these modules do require a specifically suited firmware.
Tuned firmware that matches with what it's got connected to them. Okay.
Right. So I do have on my website, just to give you a heads up here. Let's see, RGB2GO. Let me see if I can load that up a little bit better. I'll just maximize this. If you go to RGB2GO.com, all of my resources, you'll see here the instructions to do things like that. Installing the Ethernet module. This is really small. You increase the size here. But I go through all the steps of actually installing the module in WLED, which firmware you need to download and flash, along with the instructions to do so, and the settings you need to make inside the firmware to get it working, step by step.
All right, fantastic. So if you were able to do the SD card, I think that would be very much worth the opportunity to kind of walk through it. If you're able to do that here,
I can do that if you can give me about, I don't know, 2-3 minutes to get that set up.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'll start doing
Um,
that. I don't know if there's
well,
anything else.
so if you go ahead and stop sharing the screen for a second.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it's just my
and
camera feed. It's not a share
no,
system.
that's okay. I'll switch back over to cameras on my end. Give me a second. And I'm gonna make this a little bigger. So give me a second here. Oh well, I don't. Oh, I took it out there. Oh well. All right. So this is going to be in its own video. But this is an enclosure. I found one of these. It was 22, 23 bucks with tax off of Amazon. There's a bunch of different brands, and you really need to catch them on sale. If you want to get into doing some small projects such as this, this is kind of a quick taste of what the project is that I plan on doing, and putting this specific controller inside of. I plan on ordering a smaller one too for my Tetra to go. Now the Tetra, you can see the Tetra here. This enclosure is large enough. Let's see. It's large enough to put a power supply in here, a 3D printed bracket. Um, the 3D printed bracket. Now he just showed you the page that he had on his screen where you could go download data and information. He shared with me the STL file that is actually. I'll show you the STL. That's if you're a 3D printer. He sent this. He included this. So. But he has the STL on his website for this mount. And what I did was I took the mount, turned it upside down, and I put holes in it, and I made it so that I could mount it right to the top of a power supply. I messed around in Tinkercad for probably about an hour trying to figure out the best way to do it, but I figured it out, and I got it so that I could mount this onto one of my power supplies and put it neatly into an enclosure here. So that build
Tinkercad
is
really is amazing.
it is,
You
and I'm
don't
not
need to know a lot about CAD work to use it
and
well.
it's easy to remember the I think the click and drag and pan buttons are reversed versus what they are in xLights, but they're very similar. So I never forget how to use it. And so it's a lot of fun messing around with Tinkercad. I really do. I do like messing around with it, but I don't sit and insistently do stuff in there because like I'm a practical 3D printer. I like printing things that are useful, and I don't have toys. I'm not 3D printing a bunch of stuff that just I don't need. So, but anyway, I wanted to share with you this is a solution to one of my projects. I'm going to be doing the exact same thing with his other thing. I have to tear it apart and figure out how to put holes in it, and I'll build another one that looks just like this, and that will go into my enclosure. And if you can imagine this enclosure holding the the power supply mounted to a backer board there, and drill a couple holes in the bottom of the case or the side of the case. In this instance, this one only has two outputs. This is the original Duo to go, but the Tetra to go. Or excuse me, the Octa to go. This will be definitely something that I'm excited to get kind of mounted in there and built. So that's coming soon in a video or two. Now that you guys got to see the box opening, but we'll do a video on the build and show what I'm using it for and give you a little bit of real life impression. I will have, since I have the Ethernet adapter on mine, I'll be able to go in and like you said, this is using the WLED firmware with the whenever it's not the SD card, correct?
Correct.
Whenever it is the SD card, which would be this version, if it's the SD card, we're going to have the
Right.
ES Pixel Stick firmware on there.
Right. Just one second.
Okay,
There. Almost there. Almost there.
good.
There we go.
So, yeah, the boxes, the box, like I said, with the box here, it comes with, it has four hangers on the back side, so you can screw in your hangers in the back. There's four corners that you can put the hangers on and mount it to your house or if you want to build a mount of some sort. And then it includes some PG, looks like 11 or PG9 glands. Can't tell, it doesn't say. But in any event, it has a couple glands. But if you're in a hobby like we are and you like building your controllers, you probably have a bag of cable glands sitting around that you'll just use for whatever project that you're going to do. But I really do like these boxes. If you get them, don't spend more than 21, 22 bucks. If you need one, they're going to be 25 or 26 or 27. Just get what you need. But I'm a fan of bargain shopping. Whenever they go on sale, I'll get one. And I'll, like I said, I'm actually gonna, I need to build out my my Tetra to go. I have the Duo to go to put in, and then I have this one. So there,
Okay.
did I waste some time there, Jason, for you to?
Yeah, I think we're good. I managed to get the firmware installed on the Octave. That's how quickly it was, but okay, perfect. There we go. Play remote, save. Almost done. I'll share my screen. I didn't want to go through the process of if I disconnect the only way I can get the firmware to flash on is to disconnect on my USB-C. So I didn't want to disconnect my cameras to do that.
So now that's what I want to mention for if how many just by chance everybody in the Zoom room, put your hand up if you've already got one of his Duo to goes. If you've already got a Duo to go, or if you got the Tetra to go. I think actually the Duo to go is the one that I would have noticed it on first. So if you look at your board, I don't know if you had noticed this or not. If you have an original Duo to go, those boards were micro USB, excuse me. And now your updated modules for these have the USB-C cable on them.
Right.
Which I was very happily surprised to see that. So
and that's just a supply chain thing. So it's,
yeah,
I'm very happy that I didn't have to worry about dealing with both USB-C and micro USB connectors at the same time now. Most of my stuff is just USB-C.
The other thing, the reason why I bring this up is because I was having some issues with it. And one of the things that you had me do is you said, Clyde, why don't you go grab something and plug in that module and let's get it to work and see where the problem is. Because you wanted to, instead of me just blowing money, you said, no, just plug it in and let's test it around. Let's test it a little bit. And so that's what I did was I was able to plug this in. And now my old one was a micro USB. It wasn't the USB-C. And so I had to go search for that cable because I mean, everything's upgraded now to USB-C, and then whenever you said nope, it's the module. I'm pretty sure it's the module, and then you sent the module and that other piece. And whenever I went to plug it in again just to test it, because you could power this just off of a USB power supply.
Right.
So I like that. I thought that was very interesting. You didn't need the daughter board or your physical board. You could go in and program work just with this thing, right. And it's a nice. I
over-engineered the heck out of this. The whole point is I want this thing to be repairable, right? There's only so many things that are going to fail. I mean, in your case, you had some water entry, right? Mm-hmm. So we had that narrowed down, right? We figured it was either going to be the ESP8266. I've had several situations where the level shifter needed to be replaced. And I think that those are the two items I sent you, right? Mm-hmm. It was just the ESP8266 and a level shifter. And between those two, and we're talking $4 worth of parts, maybe?
Right, right. Well, that's what's nice. So yeah, underneath it here, all I did was take off the ESP module. And so you can see all it is like it's seated. And you can get a little screwdriver in there and you can lift the little guy right out. I probably have the screwdriver here somewhere. See if I can pop it up at the very least. There we go. You see how I popped that up? See how it's kind of cockeyed right there? So that little module, that was all I had to pop out of there and put in. And the doggone thing is back to working now. I mean,
And that was one of my, I mean, I love that the fact that that is doing in the field what I designed it to do. Stuff happens, right?
And the first thing I did do was I looked up on the internet, I looked up on Amazon, how much is a replacement module for these? And they were like 5 for like $12.
Yeah.
And
ESP8266s are very inexpensive, which is why I originally designed the board around them. ESP32s are a little bit more expensive, but I saw that because they do perform a bit better, but you still have the same interchangeability. They're very, very standard parts you can buy on Amazon or AliExpress or whoever. So, okay, I think I'm all set here, Clyde.
all righty.
Okay, let me so we'll
Fire.
get that.
I'm ready to pin it here. Let's see.
Okay. So what I've got going here is we did that quick change. I've removed power to this, replaced the button module with the SD card module. And I have an SD card in there as well. I've already since flashed my ESP32 with the ES Pixel Stick firmware. I couldn't do that and have my camera running at the same time, unfortunately. But that's done. And with that done, the ES Pixel Stick software looks a little different than WLED. I'm going to try and center this in my frame a little better. There we go. Right, but from here you can see, you would set up your network to be on your Wi-Fi. Under device setup, you would set up your outputs. You can configure each of them to be WS2011. We've configured our primary input to be DDP. So if we wanted to broadcast to this from xLights or FPP or whatever, we can, just like WLED. And I've set up the secondary input for FPP remote. And this is really nice. Again, one of the biggest critiques I received about my controllers is because they were Wi-Fi, people couldn't really see them as a major part of their whole show. Because Wi-Fi, it's a trigger, but it gets people worried about latency and timing, and they really didn't want to deal with that. So I figured in order to make my controller a whole house controller or to be a part of a whole house show, I needed to figure out a way to get around that Wi-Fi latency. The first option was the wired Ethernet port. With wired Ethernet port, you don't have to worry about Wi-Fi latency. And WLAD supports that, so it worked great. The second option was, what if we stored the sequence data on the controller itself so it didn't have to be broadcast over Wi-Fi each time? That would save a tremendous amount of traffic and help things a bit. The problem is WLED did not support SD cards and still doesn't. The ES Pixel Stick software does, and it does have a built-in what's called FPP remote functionality that allows you to do just that. You can use xLights to upload the sequence and save it to the SD card. Therefore, even though we're not using wired Ethernet, your show player, be it FPP or whatever, will just send timing packets to the Octa2Go. And as it's playing the sequence off of the SD card, it just knows to line them up with those timing packets. So your show's perfectly in sync.
So just to be clear, if this is acting as if it were an FPP remote,
yes,
it is on the SD card. It's going to store the pertinent FSEQ data from xLights, and it's only is that only the data that Patrick's here too. He could probably answer this in chat, but it is
explain it way better than I can.
Is that going to be just the data for this controller?
Yep.
And that's okay. So in other words, you're not getting a bloated 100% all-inclusive FSEQ file. You're getting a very detailed, specific, only for the controller FSEQ file.
Correct. I believe xLights calls that a sparse file, right?
Yep.
So yes, if you only have 4 props on this controller, it is only going to send the sequence data relevant to those 4 props to the controller.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, and I happen to have one uploaded here. So if you have, I don't have an FPP player right now to get that started, but what I do have is the ability to just run that sequence whenever. Remember how we had mentioned before? I don't know if I went into this in this call, but I'm actually the mayor of my village. And what we did for Christmas is we put up LED lights on our light poles. Now, they weren't really synced together, but I had a separate controller on each light pole running ES Pixel Stick software. And I had, one or two sequences saved to the SD cards of each of those controllers. And then every time we turned the power on, it just started one of those sequences. And the way you do that is I choose the sequence and save it. And then every time the controller, when the sun goes down and the light poles turn on, the controller just starts to play the sequence. And this is one I did for my candy canes, which is why it's red and white. But every time it gets power, it just starts playing that sequence.
And unless they removed it in the Pixel Stick, you can also create a playlist. You can't do the playlist like you have to hand edit it, but you can play a playlist too.
And
So
honestly, there's a lot more that you can do that even I know how to do.
Yep.
In my case, I just made a long sequence. I made a really long sequence with lots of different effects at different timing marks, and just played the single sequence. But yeah, if you could set up a playlist as well, that'd be great. Another way to accomplish the same thing.
Very cool. And simple, like very simple to get connected. And again, in this instance, we're not connecting to the show computer. We just have an SD card with, in this instance, just a FSEQ file, and
Correct.
it knows that's there. And once you go through the configuration step to tell it to, power on and play this or schedule it, it plays it. So
Yep.
super easy. Like,
Yep. And you can do solid color. I mean, I like WLED a whole lot better. But specifically for playing pre-programmed sequences and for using it as an FPP remote, ESP Pixel Stick is really nice. That's functionality WLED does not have.
no, very cool. Very cool. So I'm gonna I want to open it up to questions. If there's any questions, go ahead and throw them in chat. I know there's been a lot that's going on in there. If you somebody, let's see, let's go all the way back to the back. How many pixels per port? Let's go ahead and answer that one.
Well, it's an ESP32. So you really, I mean, this is one of those loaded questions as well, right? You're only going to get about 200 12-volt pixels without having to worry about power injection at full brightness. Ways around that is, don't do full brightness. You could probably put, upwards of 400 pixels per output if you're not worried about that. As far as capacity is concerned, I want to say you could probably do about 500 to 600 per port, where you're going to start seeing frame rate start to suffer a bit. I don't usually recommend going more than 3,000 on the whole controller. 3,200. So that would be about 400 per port if all 8 ports are occupied.
So so that's where I see the value in this. If you have something like, let's say, the mesmerizer, you're gonna try to fit that onto 4 outputs and have 4 outputs of 400, or maybe 3 outputs of 4 outputs of 300. Excuse me, rather, roughly, because it's under 1200 pixels, 1117. But that would work perfectly where you could still get by without needing the power inject. You probably should, but you could run that. Something like that could be ran generously with, like a 5 with 15 or 20% brightness, because it's so pixel dense. But whenever it comes to the functionality, if you had some high definition props, you could use 2 different power supplies, just like we talked about earlier. You could have, if you think about this as a receiver or a remote, um, a smart receiver. I don't want to call it a smart receiver because it's way better than that, where it's not confusing. You could have 2 power supplies in here, put this in a bigger box, and one power supply could run one side, and you could dedicate one whole power supply to pushing, what did you say, 1600 pixels out, 17,
Yeah,
18.
and I've got it on the website listed exactly what you want to do.
Mhm.
I mean, ESP32s can handle what, 65 to 85,000 LEDs per second. So I think we broke that down to be 1,000 LEDs total if you want 70 frames per second. You can do 4,000 LEDs if you're willing to do about 20 frames per second. So it all depends on what you can tolerate frame rate wise. Everybody's different. It's very particular in their little ways. So
Just a comment from Jeff. He said very neat. He's been using Twinkly for years, and ArtNet to Twinkly. I've never used the Twinkly, but back when we did mess around a little bit with it, I want to say that's been a couple years now. It was not very user friendly back then. Probably what, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago from what I remember. But Jeff's impressed with it. Larry said, I have a live example of a Tetra to Go running right now. So, Larry, congratulations. I love these. These are very easy to get going. Just such a great item. Mike says, if you have more than one RGB to go, 2, 4, or 8 controller, can they be synced to each other without running xLights?
yes, synced without running out. Yes, you can. WLAD has a built-in sync functionality. And again, WLAD doesn't care if it's a duo, an octa, or a tetra. So you can say you wanted to do a candy cane effect using WLAD. You could easily sync that to 2 other controllers. Well, more than 2. Sequence data couldn't be synced between them. But as far as the actual WLAD effect, yes, you can sync those between multiple controllers. So if you just want to do like roof lines and you have 3 different controllers handling your roof lines, you don't have to turn them on in 3 different places. You just do it once and you're done.
So
Just for hang on. Just for clarity's sake, when Clyde, you mentioned high density, doing a 1200 pixel high density product, you're not, excuse me, you're not recommending trying to push 1200 pixels over Wi-Fi though, right? You're talking about running that one.
I'm in my head. And thank you for clarifying, because in my head, I like to make things very simple. I know Wi-Fi can be unpredictable in its final use case if that's what you're trying to do. I'm thinking I was speaking more towards pre-programmed FSEQ file on board.
Okay, yeah. Or if
Yeah.
he's got if they bought the Ethernet dongle for it,
Mhm.
then yeah, that would be fine. But if trying to push 1200 pixels over Wi-Fi
Right.
is
I 100%. That's a great distinction.
may or may not
Right.
work, and
Yeah.
just
So yeah,
But if
that's
you're using FPP remote, it'd be fine. If you're using Ethernet, it'd be fine.
Yeah, that's the hard part. The easy part is the easy. And this is something I really didn't know until tonight. Whenever you started bringing it up, that you could actually utilize FPP remote. I didn't know that was a thing. Patrick mentioned it in the comments, and I'm very happily surprised.
Yeah. Still working on it. Again, it's a software that's in development. The developer Martin Mueller is amazing. It's a work in progress. Every day it gets better. And unfortunately, I'm not a software developer, right? I'm a hardware guy, so I'm at the mercy of what software works and what software can we make work, and who can I convince to help make it work with my hardware.
Mhm.
So ESP30, the WLAD software is just a staple. It just works. But for that little FPP remote functionality that it doesn't support, ES Pixel Stick's done really well.
Well, so let's see. Let me see if there's any other questions on here. Jeff says he's interested in getting a couple from you, so expect an order. Love the repairability. Great job on that, Kenny says.
Well, does Larry have something ready to show?
Larry, do you have something you want to show? Or can you?
he had put that in chat when Jason was trying to whip together his. Larry was just going to cut time and share his screen.
Hang on a second there, Larry. I gotta go find you in the list. There's a lot of people in here tonight. Larry. Oh, it won't let me let you use camera. It won't let me do it.
Can you hear me now?
There you are. Go ahead.
Hey, Larry.
Hey, I made it off mute. What do you know? All right. First of all,
Some
I'm going
people
to
probably
say,
wish I was
Jason,
on mute all night. So.
can I have video, please, also to Clyde?
I'll try. Rob might have to do that.
Okay, Rob.
Something?
So I just wanted to give kudos to Jason. So I tried a special project inside my house because all I know are Falcon controllers, 20,000 bullets. That's all I know. I've copied all you guys. That's all I know.
Go ahead real quick there, Larry.
Okay, let's see if I can come off. Aha. Now you don't want to see me, so let me turn that dude around. And so my special use case was it's a kitchen. Well, how do I do that? It's a kitchen in my basement, and I wanted to replace all my IKEA lights that had died. And up in the very top corner, you can't see, I put an Tetra, and called Jason, and he walked me through it. And as you can see, I've got Wally's Lights pucks, and I've got strip on the bottom. And this thing is wonderful because not only is it easy to do and works just fine, I wanted to be lit by a switch. And some of the other boards I tried took 5 or 10 seconds to boot up. When I turn the switch on, it's almost immediate. So thank you, Jason Summers, for helping me get my entire kitchen downstairs in my basement all lit up in about 2 weeks.
You're very welcome. That looks amazing. Great job.
It turned out great. Thank you so much. Back to you, Clyde.
No, that's great. I think again, my use case for me is the floodlights and simplicity. The goal is to put the box on the side of the house, plug them in, and be able to, now that I know it can run in remote, be able to put the well, that would be the SD card firmware, wouldn't it?
Yes. The Pixel Stick firmware would allow you to use the SD card and run an FPP remote.
So if that's the case, then this is the controller that I want to build that with. And if I use the Tetra to go, then I can do that, or I can use the Octa. But I think I'd rather use this because now I have the option to either just let WLED run it, or whenever showtime hits, be able to use this as an FPP remote.
Yep, and it's as easy as you can load one ESP32 and just pop a different ESP32 on later in the season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's another point. I mean, because you do have the firmware on the website for each of these, right?
Yes.
So if you can buy these modules. This module here, this Ethernet wire module, it's what, $20? Or
yes,
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, or the push buttons are $20, or the SD card version is. So you get the one you want with your board. You order it that way, and he'll flash it for you so that it works. But if you want to switch them out, then you just order another one of these right off of Amazon, and get the other one from him, and
I sell them too. So,
well, then, or get them from him. Get them from Jason.
Right.
And by all means, because if you just need one board and all you have to do is pop these off, I mean, it's really not that hard to
as long as you're careful, there's no problem. It's easy.
Yeah, let me turn on my other camera here for the screen capture. So these do just pop off. You just have to
just rock it a bit. Yeah.
Rock it back and forth, and they pop right off. They're super easy. And you can't screw up how to put it back together, because on the actual board there's an outline. Whoops, I'm tilting it the wrong way. There we go. You can see the outline with a little divot across the top there.
Yep, there's a semicircle at the top to help you align it.
And then at the top here, you see there's a little divot at the top, so you align it that way and pop that right back on there.
Yep. As long as no pins are overhanging, you're good to go.
Yep, and it just pops right back in place. And you could do the same thing with the Wi-Fi module. I mean, and like I said, you don't need to have the Wi-Fi module connected to the board in order to program. In fact, you're probably going to program it with it powered up with a USB-C cable powered from a wall wart of some sort, and you'll program it or plug it into your computer with the USB-C. So, Jason, the PPD Club members, they have a special discount that they get at any given time, right now, and that's what's on the website. I think you already know this. It's a 10% off the Tetra to go.
Correct.
Okay, so just so you're aware, maybe because Jason is doing, you're doing this is on pre-sale, right? Right.
Actually, I received my shipment in this week, so they're in stock right now.
So these are in stock right now. We don't have a code set up, and I wasn't alluding to one, but I was alluding. We'll get there. But I thought that I knew that you were still in pre-sale with this, and I wanted to mention that.
You received the first one I got.
Okay. So, and we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I wanted people to know, if you want to give it a shot, the starter kit is great. He's got a great little starter kit. But if you want to get the Tetra to go, if you're in a PPD Sequence Club, go log into the PPD account and look at the vendor affiliate discounts. There's a 10% discount. He has a code. Just put it in whenever you go to checkout, and that's on the Tetra to go. And then we'll work out something on this one here for the Octa soon. But for everybody who's in the room tonight, we're going to run a very limited, and I'm going to look at it right now because we didn't mention that we were going to do this. There's 45 people in here, and what we're going to do is, to only the 45 people that are in this room, there is one of these that we're going to give away. Is that right, Jason?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so if you want to enter for a chance to win, what we're going to do is, you're going to send me an email. Send me, not Jason, me an email, and we'll do a drawing. And since there's only 45 people in here, this list is going to be very short. If you'd like to win one, you're going to send me an emael with your email address.
We're still live, so everybody out there.
Oh crap! As well. Oh crap! Well, there's only 45 people in the room, but that's fine. That's fine. Listen. Facebook only has at the moment a few. There's a handful of people. So after he's gonna go boost the post. Spend $10 on advertising, Rob. Oh, Lord have mercy. Anyway, so if you're watching on Facebook, you can join us too. We don't care. But there's only a limited number of people on right now. Oh, look, they're jumping off as we go. Huh? So, but I wanted to end today with we're going to do the contest, and what we'll do is, let's say by 10 p.m. tonight. It is 10 p.m. My goodness, how time flies. Let's say by midnight tonight, I'll have a list of absolutely everybody that is that has sent me an email. So by midnight
now there's
tonight,
46 in here. See, somebody jumped on and was like, "I'm
in." Oh man, but no, just send me an email. Put in the header in the subject line contest, the word contest, and maybe put the words "enter me in the contest" or contest or something, and we'll do a live drawing whenever we get that list, and Jason and I will try to pull off getting you one of these new Octa to goes.
I threw that at you last minute. I apologize.
No, that's great.
What the heck?
Hey, look, I said we were going to figure it out one way or another. Oh, the 5 or 6 people that clung on to the YouTube or the Facebook channel, so or the Facebook post. So all good. Jason, thank you very much. Any other questions? I don't mean to.
Can employees enter this drawing?
Can employees? There's only one other employee in this meeting.
I sent an email.
Oh man. Let's see. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any other questions here.
Like Sean had a question.
Yeah, Sean, how do you upload the sequences to the SD card? That's a good question.
Yep. Once xLights is configured to see the controller, and you do it very similar to the way I did WLED. You use the FPP Connect function inside of xLights to upload it to the controller.
So upload to controller, gets the pertinent data up, and it has to have the SD card.
Correct. In order to use the FPP Connect, right, you would. Let me see if I can load up my window real quick. I can at least show you. I don't have it working, but I can show where the function is. Let's see. Okay, see my window now. Essentially,
You
you go
can
to
also
Tools.
drag and drop them too.
Yep. Yeah. Tools, FPP Connect. That will scan the network for compatible controllers and allow you to upload it from there. Or right, as you said before, you could just you could create the sequence file, make it sparse and uncompressed, and you can copy it directly to the SD card file using the ES Pixel Stick web interface.
All right. Dawn mentioned it depends if you have sparse connected. Is it, Patrick? What's the rule for that?
Uncompressed and sparse.
I think.
Oh, and he wrote that right below it.
Yeah. V2 will work. Yeah. But I found FPP Connect works really well. It's easy.
Tom wanted to know if we'll open this up for voice discussion. We will after we're done recording. Sherry says it looks awesome, Larry. Congratulations, Larry. Okay, so the email address, real quick, I'll give you the email address only because I didn't finish giving you
It's
the
the
email
very
address.
next line. I put it in there.
Oh, did you? It is. So if you're listening on YouTube or Facebook, it's Clyde at pixelprodisplays.com. So oh, you put info. Well, I wouldn't cared.
Well, why'd you change it? You would have known who was cheating.
I said to
from
me.
From
I said to
Facebook.
me. Who cares?
I did that so that I knew who actually.
Oh, you did it. Yeah, well, you really did it this time. Oh man.
I just posted in the xLights group telling them if they send an email to info, they're in.
I just deleted it. I just deleted it. All right. If you do not get a choice in FPP Connect, does it do it automatically?
Right, it does do it. Yeah, FPP Connect determines it based on the controller. If it recognizes it as an ES Pixel Stick firmware, it will only do uncompressed sparse.
So basically, it's built into the controller configuration to understand that FPP Connect is available to it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think xLights is aware of the controllers.
Yes, it knows about the controller and decides how to send it.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yep.
All right. Guys, that's everything I have. Jason, anything else you want to say? Want to go ahead and plug your website once again? Share your screen Jason's been an affiliate of PPD for 3 years now. Ever since you came out with well,
it's ever since we met at the New York Mini.
Yeah. Ever since we got started at the New York Mini. Yeah. So,
yeah, the website's RGB2GO.com. Again, we specialize in I love the beginner market. I love helping people who have never touched a controller before get going and just develop the love for this hobby that I did, without having to break the bank like I did. So it's a great way to get started. It's an inexpensive way to get started. And you know what? If you love the hobby, great, welcome. If it turns out not to be for you, you didn't waste $1,000 trying to trying to do it and ended up selling all your stuff on Facebook Marketplace. It is so depressing to see everybody selling their shows on Facebook Marketplace.
But the thing is that I think it's important to remember you're getting started, and it's always easy to jump in and say, "Oh, I want to do a little bit more. I want to be able to add this in. I want to be able to add that in. I want to do what everybody else can do." And sometimes we forget, hey, it's only has to be as simple as we need it to be as simple as. and but you don't see the forest through the trees most of the time. You just see the big finale at the end, and you're like, that's what I need, and you don't. So I think, hey, look, at $80, an 8-port controller, that's 10 bucks per output, and then you add on the module, the whichever module you want. I mean, you don't have to get it any other module. You can get the SD card if you want. You get the button push edition if you want. You can get the Ethernet module if you want. um to me, it's a no-brainer. Like I said, I am definitely going to use I'm designating this as my reindeer controller, so I'm pretty happy with that, guys. We're going to end it there. Huge thank you to Jason. As always, it's wonderful to see everybody join us. We're going to go to our open mic night session after this. Jason is Jason's going to hang around and answer your questions so that we're not recording them and offline. So again, Jason, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And to everybody, have a good evening. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for being live with us. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.